We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Dr. Thomason, roll call.
President Reese, members of the board, please let the record show that we have all 5 board members here tonight. We welcome back Mrs. Kaler, and our hearts go out to her for her loss in her family. So we're very appreciative that she's back.
Yes, thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and have our moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, we're going to go on to the approval of the agenda. I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Any questions or comments regarding the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. Dr. Thomason will go on to the superintendent's report.
President Reese, members of the board, we come to you tonight with some very special points of pride recognitions for a first for the Higley Unified School District. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Reese to start our points of pride.
Thank you, Dr. Thomason. Governing Board President, members of the board, members of cabinet, and our community. Tonight we have 2 schools who are going to be recognizing some wonderful people from their campuses, and I'd like to first invite Principal Sean Varner from Cooley Middle School.
Good evening, President Reese, members of the board, Dr. Thomason, I'm used to him being over here, members of the cabinet, community of Higley Unified School District. It is my pleasure, my honor to introduce you tonight to some outstanding individuals that work at Cooley Middle School. The first Points of Pride Award tonight that I want to bring up is our certified teacher, Mr. Bob Edgar. Mr. Edgar, would you come on up, please? So Bob Edgar is our band director at Cooley Middle School. Many of you know he is also our band director at Williamsfield High School. I'll speak to about Bob at Cooley, but also at Williamsfield, because what Bob has created at Cooley and on up to Williamsfield is a community feel. It is an absolute community. He was in my office this afternoon. We were just talking about this, the community that he has created with the program at Cooley. Again, speaking from the Cooley side of things with the band. The band, I might add, is an award-winning band all the way through grades 7 through 12. We have a great problem at Cooley Middle School, and the great problem is we're running out of room of where to put extra classes with extra kids with band. We have this conversation, I think this is the 4th year in a row we've been having this conversation of what do we do? It's expanding so much, and the reason it expands so much is the kids absolutely love Bob and the program he has created. He works tirelessly. He works until the wee hours of the night with preparation for band competitions. The Gilbert Days Parade, they just went to the Gilbert Days Parade. The kids absolutely loved that. I just can't say enough about the program that Bob has created and what he brings positivity and excitement to Cooley Middle School. Bob, thank you so much for what you provide for us. Hold it at the bottom, Bob. I don't know if the handles are going to hold up. It's heavy. It's heavy. Go ahead and stay up here, Bob. The next person I would like to introduce is our classified employee of the Points of Pride, and that is Mr. Ricardo Garza. Ricardo, come on up. So Ricardo came to Cooley Middle School about a year ago, right about this time, as a custodian at Cooley. And my gosh, I don't know where to begin with Ricardo. An amazing work ethic, amazing just positivity that he brings to Cooley Middle School. There is nothing that Ricardo won't do. He helps us with lunches and lunch duty. He constantly I feel like he's Gumby. He's being pulled in so many different directions. Ricardo, we need you over here. Ricardo, we need you there. Sometimes I hear it on the radio and I have to call out to him and I say, Ricardo, are you doing okay? I'll go find him. I know you're getting pulled in umpteen different directions. And you know what's amazing about Ricardo is he does everything with an absolute smile on his face. He loves what he does, and just the positivity and the positive culture he has brought to Cooley Middle School is amazing. He's an incredible colleague. His colleagues absolutely love him throughout campus. We appreciate all that you do for us, Ricardo. Thank you very much. Well deserved. Same thing, Ricardo. Hold this at the bottom.
Thank you so much, Ms. Morrow.
Hey, Ricardo, go ahead and stay up here. Yeah, really. We get a picture at the end. We want you front and center. The next person I would like to introduce for Points of Pride is our Points of Pride volunteer for Cooley Middle School, Mrs. Carrie Pike. Come on up. So Carrie Pike, some of you might recognize Carrie. She is not new to Higley Unified School District. Carrie is a substitute teacher at Cooley Middle School. In addition to being a substitute teacher in Higley Unified, she has graciously volunteered her time to be a volunteer cheer coach at Cooley Middle School. And it's a great combination because her daughter, who is in the audience, I know she's going to introduce her in a moment, so I won't ruin that introduction for her. But her daughter, Emily, is a teacher at Cooley Middle School, and her daughter is also a cheer coach at Cooley. And what a great connection for Carrie to be able to not only be with her daughter, but also connect with the kids at Cooley Middle School, that many of whom she sees not necessarily on a daily basis, but on a sporadic basis as she subs at Cooley Middle School. And that helps her out when she does sub because they have that relationship with her. They know her. She spends an incredible amount of time, again, with our cheer squad, provides an incredible amount of knowledge, an incredible amount of, again, and this is a common theme with everybody, enthusiasm and positivity. So Carrie, thank you so much for all of your work at Cooley. We definitely appreciate it. And last but not least, Jack, I do have something for you, I promise. You don't see a bag, but I do have something for you. Is our Points of Pride student for Cooley Middle School, and that is Mr. Jack Rosales. Jack, come on up. Congratulations, buddy. So Jack, first of all, as you can tell, he's a very intelligent young man because he's wearing an Arizona State Sun Devils shirt. So go Devils, way to go, Jack. So as far as Jack is concerned, really interesting of where to begin with him. In talking to teachers about our student Points of Pride nominee, teacher after teacher after teacher that Jack has either talked to me or emailed me or both about Jack. And the things that I got from his teachers were, again, a common theme. Positivity is such a positive outlook, enthusiastic, the epitome of the growth mindset, works so hard, just an incredibly hard worker, good friend, good helper in the classroom. One of them said that he is a one-of-a-kind student that really comes along once in a career of a teacher. And you know, when I looked at that in talking to these teachers, I thought, wow, what an absolutely amazing young man that Jack Rosales is. I know we are very proud to have him at Cooley Middle School, and he's going to have an incredible future in front of him. So Jack, thank you for being the epitome of what it means to be a Cooley Cougar. Congratulations on being our Points of Pride student for Cooley Middle School. Not that what's in the gift bags is bad for these folks, but I thought you might want this card, and there's a little something for you in there as well. Jack, congratulations. So what we're going to do, I'm going to pass the microphone. You thought I was kidding about speeches, right? No, okay, I was kidding. No speeches. But what you guys are going to do is tell us who's in the audience here supporting you, okay? And then we'll get a group picture to everybody. So Jack, we're going to start with you.
Okay, I have my mom and my dad right there. They've helped me become the person I am, and they're one of the nicest people in the world, so I just want to thank them.
I have my daughter, Emily Harrison, and my husband, Gary Pike.
I have my mom and dad as well, who helped make me who I am. Thank you for being here, folks. Unfortunately, my wife couldn't be here tonight. She's at Cooley holding down the fort. We have a concert tonight, so wish she could be here. But my son, Bobby, is here as well.
So I'm just by myself right now, but you know, my wife is going to be proud of me, and my mom and dad too. So, but thank you, Mr. Bonner.
Thank you, everybody. These are amazing individuals at Cooley Middle School. So proud to call them colleagues. Guys, come on in. We're going to get a picture. And again, thank you.
So our Cooley Cougars move on and become our Blackhawks over at Williams Field. So I'd like to introduce Principal Steve Tannenbaum to welcome up the Points of Pride.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Thomas and Cabinet, very honored to be here tonight to highlight our Points of Pride. I'd like to also welcome Assistant Principal Dan Fox to come on up, and Mr. Daryl Stengel, Assistant Principal and Athletic Director. Our team all of our team wanted to be here tonight. Gordon Ray is actually holding down the fort with a induction ceremony tonight on campus. But for an opportunity to talk tonight, a little bit about our amazing people who help us support our campus, help us run our campus, help us to bring guidance to our campus as well. And you'll see a familiar name on there, our very first individual to honor tonight. So Mr. Varner and I, obviously we submit these names separately, and we found out about Friday of last week that we both submitted the same person. And the great part is, and we didn't want to change any bit of it, because he and what Mr. Edgar does on our campus and what he does at the middle school is shown. Individually, that ability to inspire a group of students, to guide them and see them through those tough years of middle school into the tough years of high school. Mr. Varner really hit on all the elements of what he does for music, but I want to also focus in on what he does to build character with students as well. Mr. Edgar focuses a lot on character development, leadership development with students. He creates opportunities to have mentors within his program. They talk all the time. He has a council of leaders who help to make guiding decisions within the program. Those pieces and those type of skill sets that he's building, we know that we're going to see those skill sets when they leave our campus later on in their life. Also, Mr. Edgar has been very involved as well in helping to support music across the district. He's been with professional developments and helping to set them up. He's been working on items to review music instruments, just not at Williamsfield, but within the entire district, because that is the type of man Mr. Edgar is. He cares about Higley Unified, and that's a special piece for who he is and what he does. So I can't say thank you enough to him. I appreciate everything he does, and congratulations, sir. Congratulations. So Jack Morrison is our plant foreman. He couldn't be here this evening. He is a hardworking man, and so he had a conflict and could not change. But we were happy to talk about him and embarrass him a little bit this morning at our staff meeting. But Jack is a guy who just gets things done. And as a plant foreman on a large campus, we appreciate that. All of our educators in the room know when you have somebody who's just a go-getter, you think you have to submit a school dude for something that needs to be fixed, and Jack already has it fixed before a school dude's even in. He just finds anything that needs to be improved on the campus, goes the extra mile. Can't say enough great things about who he is and what he does. And how important his role is on our campus. The items of making sure things are clean and not broken, picked up. He interacts with students. He's just a phenomenal man. And so we appreciate him, and I told him I would embarrass him even though he might not be here tonight, but I want to make sure I give him due justice. So thank you, Jack.
So in keeping with the band theme, we had to, of course, pick a volunteer who devotes a lot of time to band, almost as much time as Bob himself, and has helped in numerous facets at our school. So we're excited to announce that Michelle Thompson has been selected as Higley Unified School District Point of Pride for Williamsfield High School. Michelle has been a rock for the Blackhawk Band Boosters for the last several years and consistently takes on, with a smile, anything that is thrown her way. As Vice President of the Boosters, she fulfills many roles, including assisting with fundraising, activities, uniforms, helping to support the Guard, being at practically every rehearsal throughout the week, and we can all attest to that because we see her constantly, tirelessly traveling on buses to away games and helping to set up the stands for the band and pushing and pulling gear on and off the field. Most recently, Michelle was instrumental in the coordinating of wrapping 2,500 feet of PVC pipe with Mylar and packing tape to create our 2019 marching band dome props. Further, she assisted at every performance with the assembly and mounting the lights to them. Michelle's contributions make our organization a better and stronger one, and the students benefit greatly by her support. Thank you very much, Michelle, for everything you do.
All right. As all of you know, at Williamsfield, we live to dominate. And this young lady understands exactly what that means in every aspect of her life. She is an amazing student with a high GPA, who every one of her teachers talks about a pretty common theme about her, and it's the same thing I'm going to talk about through the whole thing, is she really understands what it means to lead, and lead by example, and lead by presence. And she really has a major presence on our campus. Like I said, she has a high GPA. She's a leader of our student group, as you'll see at this weekend's state championship game, as she leads our student group and really gets them fired up for the game and gets them going. And again, the presence she brings really gets those kids going and gets them into the game. She is an incredible performer in our soccer program, who had a big 6-1 victory last night. So just an amazing competitor. Track and field, she's a star in track and field for us as well. So multi-sport athlete, great student. In her spare time, she decided to go out and win 2 world championships in Muay Thai. She is something else. I mean, one of those kids that comes along that just blows you away. And I am very proud that I've gotten the opportunity to know her a little bit this year. She sits on my Student Athlete Leadership Council, and brings a lot of value to the leadership of the campus. I really admire her. I hope to be here when I grow up. But I want to introduce Tiara Brandt.
You guys can take a second and introduce your family here tonight. One more time, Mr. Edgar.
Love you guys.
That was too short.
My husband Rob's here, Elizabeth, and I see Molly scooted in the end.
I have both my parents, Stan and Desiree, here. Yeah, without them, this wouldn't be anything be possible, so I just thank them always.
Real quick, while we're setting up for a picture, I wanted to take a moment, because once we're done with awards, this room kind of clears pretty quick. So we have never had the same person win Points of Pride for multiple schools. So this is a first for the Higley Unified School District, and it speaks to Mr. Edgar, what he does with his program, and how we have the program structured to go from connecting with Cooley and Williamsfield. So individually, they had the option to change, and they both said, no, this is who our Points of Pride is. So I wanted to thank you. We have never had this, and we appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
So for upcoming events, we do have some exciting things coming up. On Friday, December 6th at 9 a.m., we have our Cortina Elementary School Superintendent's Visit. I hope you're all able to make it. And then on Saturday, I want to remind everybody that Williamsfield High School is in the state championship football game at ASU starting at 11 a.m. Saturday, December 14th, we have a new tradition here at Higley. We have the Holidays of Hope. And that is at 9 a.m., where we'll welcome in several families from our district to receive gifts and surprises and presents from our community. Then on Friday, December 20th to January 3rd, we will have our winter break, so there'll be no school at that time. Then on Wednesday, January 15th, will be our next governing board meeting, starting right here in the boardroom at 5:30 p.m. And those are our upcoming events.
Thank you. All right, well, that was exciting awards and recognitions. Lots going on coming at the end of the semester and end of fall sports and championships and competitions, and there's lots happening. All right, we're going to go on to board comments.
May I?
Mr. Glover?
Well, I just wanted to. I haven't said this to the board, but this year at work, I got appointed to a new committee, and it meets Fridays at like 9 o'clock every Friday. So I understand that I miss a lot of our school visits. I don't expect them to be changed because of my schedule, but I'm not there. I wish I could be there, but it's a job obligation, so I apologize to my fellow board members for not being able to be there, and to the administrators and staff who work so hard to put forth our visits.
Thank you. I'm with you. Some I can make and some I cannot, but we appreciate the invite for sure. All right, then we'll go.
Sure. I'd just like to say on Wednesday, I went to Coronado's Turkey Trot. That's really a special day, and it's pretty awesome. There's the students, they create all these centerpieces and the artwork, and the community, all the families bring in desserts. And what happens after that, it's all is brought together, and they take them over to the Boys and Girls Club over in Chandler. And all the needy families in that community come for Thanksgiving dinner. And all our children's centerpieces and decorations and desserts are all there. And I go there every year with it, and I can't tell you how it feels when those children walk in the door and oh my gosh, look at these, centerpieces. And as we were unloading the desserts that afternoon, some of the teenagers that work there said, wow, that must be a really special school that their parents give them all those desserts. And it was just, that's what life's about, and that was very nice for the Coronado community, what they do every year. So I just want to say thank you.
Nice, thank you. All right, we're going to go on to our request to speak. We value input from our constituents. This time has been set aside for anyone from the audience who wishes to address the board. Please remember, this is not an appropriate venue to evaluate, discuss, or criticize district personnel. Policy KEB provides a process for complaints about personnel. Speakers should be aware that false statements about individuals may result in civil liability. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. We do ask that you please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. And our request to speak is from Joe Gusick. Welcome.
Thank you. Madam President, fellow board members, Dr. Thomason, all Higley staff, parents, taxpayers, and last but not least, students. My name is Joe Gusick, and I'm the lovable, slightly annoying American. I'm the Education Lorax. I come to thank you. When you're in the news, you're always in the news for the good. I will always advocate for any organization that does right. When an organization doesn't do right, I will encourage them to change their course. Obviously, we've had a private school have a scandal. We've had district schools have scandals. We've had charter schools have scandals. We've even had issues with our ESA program and our private tax credit program. I ask you to advocate to the others. Show what you do. Encourage what you do. I realize a lot of the times that you don't get what you need. Come to me and tell me what your issues are, because I'll go advocate for you. No cost and nothing in return. I want to read an article from you from the Phoenix Business Journal that came out on 11/22/2019, titled "Our Classroom Crisis Needs a Business Plan." Sound familiar? I've always advocated for a business plan. In fact, I've advocated for a 10-year business plan. I'll go to a few quotes for you. The solution to the classroom crisis isn't complicated. Arizona needs sustainable funding source for education dollars that exist in good and bad times. Sound familiar? See it on a card? We'll advocate for that continuously. I ask you to do a little favor. Educate your district residents, not just for this district, but for all the students, for every student in this state, that we need consistent funding in good and bad times. Do it now. Don't do it when it's bad, because when it's bad, everybody goes to self-interest and they hunker down. So let me read the next section that they wrote in this article. Many politicians like to say we need to run the government like a business. We agree. Smart, savvy companies do not starve their most important assets, teachers, counselors, staff, and expect to be successful. They invest strategically for the long-term success. As I've told many groups, even our Arizona State Retirement System, education's a community, always has, always will. This is not a marathon. This is not a sprint. This is a continuous relay race. I ask you to pass it off from one generation to the next generation, from one board member to the next board member, from one superintendent to the next. So I thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I wish you all a happy holiday season. I'm now going to go to Chandler Unified School District. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, we have no other requests to speak, so we will go on to our consent agenda items. I would move to approve the consent agenda items with one notation. On item 6.10, the first read of amendment policy, it is listed as GBDA, and that needs to be corrected to GDBA. So I move that we make that adjustment and that we approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Any questions or comments regarding consent?
Madam President,
Mr. Glover.
just one, and I think it's not really a concern. It's item 6.9. In talking with Dr. Thomason, this is the policy, and the policy is fine. It's about evaluations of support staff. And I think in talking to him, there's an opportunity to, for the district to maybe simplify some of the evaluations for some of our support staff. Some don't need as comprehensive as what we have, and it's not part of the policy, but I thought it was worth mentioning it to the broader audience as something that perhaps we could improve.
Thank you.
President Reese. I know I also spoke with Dr. Thomason about 6.12 and that we would get, hopefully in the superintendent's report, how our staff wage schedule broke down as far as job per A, B, C, D, because that was the last thing we saw, and we haven't heard what that turned out to be.
Madam President, fellow board members, community, et cetera, in regards to that item, actually, yes. So as much as we always push to get things done in certain time frames, we were not able to successfully get things finished in September as we anticipated. And actually, down to the wire, just ended up finalizing everything last week. So I actually brought a copy of that with me today, and I will give it to Dr. Thomason. We just finalized it in a PDF that could be published this morning, and so Dr. Thomason will have that to be able to distribute to all of you, as well as will then, once final approval goes through, post it on our website, as well as provide it to other employees so that way they have access to it.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention on item 6.13, I wanted to take a moment to thank Dr. Thomason on this item. It's an intergovernmental agreement between Maricopa County Community College District and the Higley Unified School District to get us an advisor from Chandler Gilbert Community College for our high schools. I know this is an item that we've talked about multiple times. We offer a lot of dual enrollment. We have several students who have the opportunity to earn their associate's degrees while they're in high school, and then helping our students determine their right path in high school and beyond. So thank you for continuing with the course and working really hard on getting us this agreement. Our students at both of our high schools are going to benefit greatly.
President Reese, I would be remiss if I didn't also give thanks to Mr. Greg Witovich, board member, for helping us get this through as a member of our board and our community to help push this through also. So thank you, Mr. Witovich.
Any other questions or comments on consent? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. We will go on to action and information items. I move that we approve the 2021 Higley Unified School District High School Course Guide. Questions, comments?
I actually think thank you. It turned out great. I was very impressed by it. I would assume Dr. Foley did a lot of the work here, and I'm going to just say that I thought it was excellent. I like the pathways at the end and how it was really laid out for us as parents, because we could see exactly where a student might lie.
Can you hear me? Okay. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the inclusive process of this. I think one of the reasons why you see such a detailed document with the amount of work is who was involved. In the audience, we have representation of the committee who was there. We had our administrators there. We had our instructional coaches. We had counselors. We had teachers, department chairs. We used that process that I had an opportunity to share with you a couple months ago. We had finance in the room. Virginia Sanchez worked on creating summaries that we reviewed at these meetings, that we had tracked changes, so that we had lots of voices in this process. So this is the work of lots of eyes and thoughts and capturing of work, and I'm tremendously grateful for all of the work of the whole committee to bring to you the course guide work that was done.
Madam President, unless you wanted to go.
Mr. Glover?
Well, I just had a few things, I guess, to consider as time goes on, but also thank Dr. Foley and her team. I do think the document, and I've told you this, is improved, and I think you see that in course description guides over time anyway. They just get better and more cleaned up every year. But it's a big task, and I'm sure we'll probably hear your sigh of relief afterwards. But there's a few things I think are worth talking about, and one of the things I worry about is our high school students, and like in California recently, in the next couple of years, they're going to move the start times a little bit later, but how early our kids get up, and it's to get all the credits, and A hour is ungodly early. But I think about that in terms of what we require for credit. And I understand there's seat time and there's finance and there's just a whole bunch of considerations, but I just wanted to put out there, perhaps for next year as an improvement, a couple of things. And one of them on the guide, I don't know if these guys can pull it up, on page, it's page 67 on my PDF, but it's page 62 in the actual document. There are the math pathways. And the standard pathway is fine, and we require 4 credits of math, and the rigorous one is fine. And again, we did this last year, so these guys are probably sick of hearing me, but in 8th grade, they take geometry, but they don't get high school credit. And so kids that in middle school, the track is that they will end up taking really an extra year of math, and that's fine if they want to. By all means, I'm glad and happy that we offer that. But not everybody that's really good at math or gifted at math needs to take like AP stats or even differential equations. So my thought was, as a board, would we be open to the idea of the kids in that highly rigorous track getting credit for honors geometry so that they could either take electives, or also I was thinking about computer science. AP computer science is pretty math heavy. I mean, I don't know what ours look like, but computer science classes I know it's a different kind of math, but it's math. And so offering maybe that as a credit for that as well. And I think that, maybe kids could take another elective. Sometimes they're so busy that they're not always able to take as many electives. And then this would just be an opportunity for them at that time of their life as they're trying to figure out what they want to be and where to explore other elective options. So I would just ask that I'm interested in what teachers think of that. I see some of our math coaches back here. They may hate me for that, but just to ask what the teachers think, and not just the math teachers, but what our teachers think, what our parents think, and what our students would think of something like that. And similarly, the PE credit. We've had some parent questions about PE, and I know that there are ways that we can give either credit or a waiver of some sort for like marching band, and those guys do get their exercise. And the same thing I think for
Yes,
like
they do.
softball, basketball, some of our sports. We could give them credit for that so that they could take another elective. If they want to take PE, I think it's great, go ahead. But they don't all, like football has, usually a PE weightlifting class kind of thing, but basketball's a mid-season thing. They may not have that softball. So just to consider that, I guess, as time goes on, to allow some of these kids either to maybe not have to get up for an A hour if they don't need to, or to take and explore other electives. So I thank you for just considering that and talking to that with your group as time goes on, and I welcome any other comments from fellow board members.
President Reese. Yes, Mr. Glover, a couple of years ago when our math was presented in this kind of way, I was brand new to the board, and I remember the conversation very vividly that it was 4 years of math, and I think for some of us up here, we thought that geometry counted as one of those years of math. Fast forward, I did learn that that was not the case. Geometry was going to be an elective for our 8th graders. However, I too feel, Mr. Glover, that if they're taking an honors algebra class in 8th grade, most of them are going to continue on this higher track just because if they're that great in math at such a young age, they're going to continue. But again, we're making that decision for them. And sometimes I think when it gets to those higher level math classes, that should be a personal and a parental type of decision. So I too agree with you that I think especially we have a student that goes to Williamsfield for honors geometry and gets credit. And then we have kids at Sossaman that are taking the class but not getting high school credit. Is that correct?
So one of the things that the conversation of math was something that we talked quite a bit about. We talked about pathways, and in fact, you'll notice even in the course catalog, there were some revisions to prerequisite courses because we even had some missing pathway opportunities. What are options, and will or won't we offer credit for those courses, and where and when? Were lots of conversations that we had, which opened the opportunity that there needs to be some consistency and conversations about that moving forward. The committee and we brought this recommendation, Dr. Thomas and the committee decided that at this point we weren't going to be changing where credit would be, but the fact that we would consider that consideration and that conversation moving forward. required, but we made those revisions and changes to the existing opportunities and pathways in those math conversations. But yes, the idea of where are we offering or are we offering credit, and what options do students have if they do take credit for those classes for them moving forward, would that look like? So I believe that that would be one of those, talking about the timeline that we talked about, proposals and recommendations. There were several things, including other content areas, not math, that weren't ready for full proposal to bring forward for this, that are going to require some work. This is one of them. And really, we talked deeply in the committee about the fact that proficiency is proficiency is proficiency, and how do we get so that we ensure that the outcome of the course, regardless of where it's taken, it measures proficiency and where credit is awarded. So that is moving forward conversation and work that needs to happen, but is not part of the recommendation for this course catalog at this time. But know that these very same conversations in great depth happened in the meetings in preparation for these meetings.
I have a quick question. Sorry. Was the 4-year math, I was sitting in the audience at the time, I was not up here, was 4-year math based on scholarship? For some reason, I was thinking there was some conversation about some scholarship.
No, there was a
piece of that.
conversation from that the colleges in our area are looking for those 4 years of math, and when a 12th grader skips a math and then they go into college, they can have that gap year, which can sometimes be to the detriment of the students. So I totally understood that part of the conversation.
That's what I remember about that. I'm sorry.
And I agree with that if, in fact, that student is doing a math type of major. There are some students that just math is not their gift, and it's very difficult then when they get up into those higher things. Also, Mr. Glove, oh, go ahead.
One of the things that came up often is obviously that understanding pathways and options is important, and making sure we do right placement for students with math, that we have the right math. We want to be able to provide the highest level for those who are ready for that, but also make sure that we have options and other pathways for students. So those are a lot of conversations that we have had and are talking about. So again, not a change for this course catalog, but I believe conversation will be part of those proposals we bring forward in future meetings.
And also to Mr. Glover's, the PE, I remember we did get an email asking if that would be a credit for sports. And in the same conversation, I know that there are some sports that have a class, like football, they have a class. I know that some of the other sports want to have a class, like baseball wants to have a class, or soccer academy, they want to have a class, so that would kind of, and I don't know how that looks, adding those types of things, but I know.
We have a new course proposal form.
Well, and I think they've been shut down a few times, so maybe it's something that we need to revisit again when it comes to our athletics, just because I see our numbers growing and our championships are growing and things like that. So maybe that's something we need to look at again, is just those academies for each sports and how that looks towards the PE. So that's my 2 cents.
And I agree with Mr. Glover and Mrs. Kaler. I think that we do need to revisit that proficiency. If they're doing the class, then they should get credit for the class. And I think we do need to relook that. I would also like to look at, we have the 4-year, and I get the reason behind it, and we heard the presentation and agree, but I think we need to allow a little more wiggle room and options, that if we do have a, highly rigorous student who is done with their math, to give them an option to do a science class and let that count, perhaps as that 4th year math, or give them some other options to kind of substitute that. A lot of science and math cross over, and so I don't want to take up their senior year by mandating they have to have certain things, there's no doubt about it. But I would rather them explore a little bit more and give them those options and have those options available for them to be able to explore maybe a higher science class and realize science is where I want to go or science is not where I want to go in college, and give them some more options there. So I would like that we look at that as well. And to your point about PE, I agree. We have multi-sport athletes, and they are on the field and they work hard. They're doing weight training, they're doing conditioning and strength, and honestly, I would rather see us give credit and figure out a formula for that and give credit for that than to see an online PE credit come in. Because that's what's happening, is that their schedules are full, and between sports and their academics, and their schedules are full, and then their senior year they're taking an online PE credit. And so I would rather see that we find a formula. I know marching band is PE, so is dance. That can be substituted as PE. I think we need to look at our sports and calculating formulas on what would equal the full credit. And so I'm glad to hear those conversations are happening. I look forward to kind of hearing that follow-up and figuring out what we need to do right. And I think part of the pathways, and not at the moment, but I think having conversation with our new Chandler Gilbert academic advisor on some of those, may just inviting them from that, that higher level on what we need to do, what's right for our students, not what individually any one of us think, because what I would do for my kid and what Mrs. Wilson would do for her kid, and yeah, I mean, it's all different. So I think having more of a collective, giving them options to make sure we're doing what's right for all of our students the best we can.
I think those are all good points, and I think what's important to remember is obviously we have state statute things we're working with, and there's course codes we're working with. And one of the things that's nice about this process is that we're not putting anything in the course, that the guide, that hasn't been thoroughly reviewed, developed, and aligned for that. So there are some things that are still in the works and will be in the works that will be part of renditions coming forward. So I hear you, and I know that we will see these proposals work through this process in the future, and that's important for you to know that little timeline will be what we start again for next year. There are the idea of option and best fit is something that we want to ensure is there. You'll notice that there are other courses besides those that are just listed in the pathways. Those are just those examples, but know that we are working on and having those conversations and hear you. So.
I just want to add to Dr. Foley, thank you so much. I know this was a huge undertaking. I mean, when I opened up that document and I saw that red, I was like, oh, okay, I better pour a cup of coffee because this is going to take me a while. So thank you to the team too. I love the collaborative effort and you bringing in so many people to help you with this. And I agree with Mrs. Wilson that the pathways in the back, same with we haven't gotten to it yet, but with the middle school. I think this, then I told Dr. Thomason, this is so good for parents to see at a glance, because I think sometimes we get overwhelmed when we start to go and pick classes and talk with our kids, and just seeing it at a glance so kind of laid out is fantastic. Getting that into the hands even to our sixth graders, I know that that's part of the process that we need to make sure that they're seeing this as well, because a lot of them don't see that end math route, and then they think, oh, middle school, I can do all this math, and then they get into high school and go, oh, what did I sign up for? So it's so good to see this all laid out so well, and so I just appreciate everybody's time on this.
Thank you.
I had a quick question about PE. Is it mandatory by the state?
You'll notice, like, in the very front, there's a graduation requirement, and there are other ways.
And it is, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, because I know at one point I thought that it maybe wasn't, or they were toying with the idea of not making it mandatory anymore. So, okay.
And you'll see that the committee worked, and there's a new diploma designation that we added. I mean, again, we were taking a look at opportunities here. We were refining courses, some of which have been happening over 4 years that hadn't been here yet. So again, we're proud of the work we have here, and we have a process now that we will continue to use. We have some proposals that are in the process that are building their curriculum, their sequence, their proposals to come back. We've also heard your discussion, so there are new proposals that'll be added and refined and worked on in that time. So there's a lot of work that went into the work, and there's more work to be done. So just like anything, it's good for now, but as we will continue to refine. One thing that will end up coming up too, you'll notice there were a couple additional seals that were added. Some of those seals are hot off the press from the ADE. So one of the things we're going to be working at is operationalizing what that looks like. One of the things that happened is the state in October here approved a fine arts seal, and they approved it so you could be eligible for this year. Our fine arts people obviously are over the moon about this opportunity. This is very exciting. Obviously, it wasn't even able to put in the course guide for this year. So what would happen would be we applied for it. Once we're approved for it, you'll get a memorandum from me going, this is an opportunity for this year's course guide for students to apply for, and we'll operationalize it obviously moving forward. So again, these are only as good as at the time print, but there have to be timelines for us for moving forward. So know that this is not a done deal, it's an evolving deal, but we have completed it for this course guide for this year and are beginning for next.
One more comment. I appreciate too that the child development class made the cut this year. I think a lot of our students are very interested in that class, and I have to just say kudos to, I will not say his name correctly, that we saw at Higley, Mr. the cop, what's his name? DeBlurge, I won't say it right.
Smith?
He was like doing handcuffing in class. They had a murder to solve.
Yes.
What is it? Claridge.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Like those kind of classes, those kids, they were just all lit up in that class. So I love those opportunities. Like I said, having those 12th graders explore those CTE type of classes as well to give them those real life experiences
Our
in a
crime
classroom.
scenes
Our
and-
crime scene. Wow.
Yes.
I mean, that was
Yes.
fascinating.
Yes.
Pencil.
Yeah, those two didn't go together. Our child development classes and a cop coming in and showing.
crime
I
scene.
think you threw everybody off.
I knew exactly where you were.
Any other questions or comments? No, again, thank you, Dr. Foley and your team, and including everybody. And we know the course guide's always a huge undertaking. So, all right, all those in favor? Aye. Mr. Glover, did I hear? Okay.
Aye.
It echoed. So that motion carries 5-0. You guys were just in unison then. All right, so we will go on to 7.2. I move that we approve the 2021 Higley Unified School District Middle School Course Guide.
Second.
Any other additional comments or questions for the middle school course guide? I think we had discussion about perhaps what they should be getting credit for there and what should be able to transfer to the high schools. Mr. Glover?
Sorry, you guys hate me. Well, just one point of note. I noticed that there were some reduced fees or removed fees in middle school, so that's nice, always nice to see. And then also, I don't know if there's anything either about high school or middle school that you wanted to mention too. I don't really know if we gave you an opportunity to talk. I think we jumped in, but if there's anything you want to add for the good of everybody, please do.
Well, to speak to the fees, one of the things that we noticed, again, we were looking for consistency, and we noticed that in the course guide there was a course fee, the template said course fee, but when you went to the fee section, there wasn't a fee that had been assigned. And we talked about the fact, obviously, there's state statute about what you can and cannot charge, and that we had not historically done so. So again, we cleaned that up. Obviously, the music rental thing stayed in there. Again, you'll notice the middle school pathways piece was big because we did want people to understand this is a 7-12 conversation. I think, again, the same hard work went into this. This was a cohesive groups and the right people's and eyes on this, but I think you've captured quite well some of the feedback for us, but also the opportunity to share with you. Honestly, it was important how many people were involved in this, and moving forward that we will continue this work. So I appreciate all of you and your feedback, and I also appreciate your careful edits. I mean, Mr. Glover caught where we had missed the track changes, but in the final, I appreciate those thorough sets of eyes. It's one of those things when you've looked at it so much, you almost can't see it anymore, even if it glares at you. So again, everyone's effort appreciated, and thank you.
Thank you. It does all blur together. I had to revisit it multiple times. I could only look at so much and be done, so.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. All right, we'll go on to 7.3. I move that we approve the payment for extra yearbooks during the 2018-2019 fiscal year. Questions, comments?
We always run out of school yearbooks because every parent goes, I didn't get the email. And you're like, we just sent out like 20 throughout the year, but it's okay. It's okay.
I think you ordered it, and then when it comes, because I thought the same thing, and I said, did I order your yearbook yet? And my son said, no. So I think that's what seems to happen. You think, I just did that, but it was last year's. So I think that's where it's going, but that's just my personal mom brain.
And this is just another kind of crossover too, where it crossed fiscal years is when the payment needed to be made. So it's not new monies, it's just they didn't submit the request for payment prior to the end of the fiscal year. So any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. That motion carries 5-0. All right, we have our future agenda items. Any questions, revisions? Nope. Okay. With that said, we are going to reconvene in the back room for our work study on our late start, early release Wednesday updates and the administrative compensation schedule.